right, well, I can kick things off. We'll do some intros and then we'll jump into it. Thank you to everybody who's on right now to learn more about our Rough Gems program through Union Hall. My name is Emma Perez Steuer. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the executive director of Union Hall.
My name is Esther Hernandez, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the chief curator here at Union Hall. Yeah, we're excited about this next round of Rough Gems.
Yeah, and this is Jess Diaz will be here in the background as well, but she's our gallery and marketing manager, and she, her as well. Cool. All right, well, I'll kick things off if we can go to the next slide. We're just gonna give a little bit of an intro on Union Hall, our organization, and then talk about the Rough Gems program specifically, talk about the application process, give sort of an overview, and then we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. Like I said, feel free to ask any questions in the chat box or in the Q&A box at the bottom in the meantime or at the end if you'd like. So yeah, hopefully we can help illuminate the process a little bit and answer any specific questions that folks have. Could you go to the next slide, Esther?
Yeah, sorry, I'm struggling for some reason.
No worries.
Yeah, I don't, is that it?
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
I went too far back.
No. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think two.
I'm not sure how to go back. Sorry.
It's okay. We can either close out and start at the beginning or maybe the back arrow on your keyboard.
I don't know. Stop sharing for a second.
Yeah. Or maybe just if you have access to it now and wanted to share it. Oh, yeah, I can see it now.
I don't know how to control it.
Jess, would you mind pulling it up? If not, I can grab it too.
Here we go. All right. Sorry, guys.
Okay, cool. No problem. Thanks for helping with the tech piece, Esther. I'm having some issues with my computer today and every day it seems like. So yeah, just a little bit of an overview on Union Hall and our organization. If you're not already familiar with us, I also encourage you to go on our website, look around a little bit. All this information is up on there along with like all of the programming that we do. But basically we were started in 2019. We are in the Lodo neighborhood right near Union Station. We have a great relationship with the building that we're in, which actually supports us in our space and the programming that we do. And we mainly support emerging artists and creatives. We also try and create free and accessible community-focused programming in our space. We have those visual art exhibitions that are always free and open for anyone to come in, as well as almost weekly events we average about, which range from artist-centered programming to concerts, yoga, poetry readings, film screenings, all types of programming. So that's our mission up top. And then underneath that are our values, innovation, inclusivity, impact, and inspiration. We love an alliteration. So yeah, it's just a little bit of background on Union Hall. Yeah, we can go to the next one. Awesome. And I'll also just give a little bit of an overview on the Rough Gems program and how that came about. So essentially, when talking to community members, we realized that there was this gap in the support for creatives out there that we felt we would be able to fill through this program. We saw that there wasn't really any program geared towards those interested in curation or organizing exhibitions. So we came up with this concept of having an open call for curators or art historians or artists or anyone who's interested in organizing something in an exhibition space. And we have this open call once a year. We select 3 proposals, and each of those has a 3-week time slot in January through April of each year. And it will be three-week exhibitions, generally visual art exhibitions, but we are open to other mediums, and we also do include supplementary programming in those proposals. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But basically, this is geared towards supporting those who are interested in curation, while also being able to support more artistic talent. We allow for up to 2 curators in each show, up to 6 artists in each show. And yeah, just a little bit on the bottom, like general who, what, when, where, know how. But so basically, who can be a curator? We really want to broaden that definition of who a curator is. You don't need a master's or a PhD in art history to be a curator. You don't need previous curatorial experience. We really just want the proposal to be able to speak for itself. We have a new blog up on our website, and there's a blog post that sort of highlights this and who we want applying for rough gems, who we consider a rough gem, and that provides a little bit more information that's up on our website. And then there's a lot more. Thank you, Jess. So just put a link in the chat box to where you can find that. And what the project is, I just went over that a little bit. There's some more information up on our website as well on that, but basically it's an annual open call and this collaborative curatorial project, which we're hoping supports those interested in curation. We provide wages to all of the curators and artists involved in it, and we're want it to be a opportunity for professional development and mentorship. It takes place January 18th through April 20th. We'll talk a little bit more about the full timeline later on, but applications will be open until September 12th, 2023. 11:59 p.m. is the exact time. So we're giving you until midnight. And then it's in our art space, which is in downtown Denver inside the Coloradan, right next to Union Station. Cool. Esther, you want to talk a little bit about what we're providing to the curators and the curatorial teams? Oh, you're on mute.
So I think this is such a great opportunity because you get to exhibit an exhibition in our space that, and you also get $900 as a curator for funding as a stipend. And then each artist has a stipend of $300, and you can include up to 6 artists per exhibition. This opportunity includes curatorial mentorship. So you will be working collaboratively with me and Emma and Jess. Jess would handle a lot of the marketing. Emma does a lot of the budget, and then I would work with you on curatorial details and things regarding the space. And so that's kind of the overview of the curatorial mentorship and collaborative part. And then there's also weekly meetings that we would have set up in advance for planning and guidance and mentorship and stuff like that. So the curators are, if you want to look at this more in depth, you can go to our FAQ to kind of get a sense for what the curator role is. But the curator is responsible for communication with the artists, communication with Union Hall, confirming artist commitment and availability of the artwork. Actually, let me finish going through what Union Hall provides really quick. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. But we do oversee the installation and de-installation in collaboration with you. And then you obviously get access to Union Hall's tools and resources as far as the de-installation and installation goes. We also take care of the vinyl exhibition text, which is generally on a 9x9 wall. But we're open to, any kind of creativity that you want to bring to that. And then we also provide an exhibition guide template, and we print the gallery guides and things like that. We also have a professional photographer come in and take pictures of the exhibition and each artist gets a copy of those and each curator gets a copy of those. So you can use those in your portfolio or for your website later, however you want to use them. But the curators also get full use of Union Hall's facilities, including movable walls, pedestals, furniture, tech, TVs, projectors, anything that we have, is available for use. And then we also will help you with programming and setting up programming events and things like that. And we do staff the gallery during exhibition hours as well. So that's a lot, and that's what we will work with you to provide. Emma, should I go into a little more about the curator's role, or do we want to do that later?
Yeah, I think we can talk about the curatorial role a little bit right now. And then I also just wanted to mention that there's more information. We'll talk about it a bit more in the budgetary section and in the FAQ section and in the budgetary consideration section of the application. There's more information on what those stipends are and what we can provide budgetarily. So we'll talk about that more in the budget section, but just touching on the stipends, those are meant to be in exchange for your time and labor that you're providing and putting together this exhibition. So we really want that to go. Obviously, you're able to use it however you'd like, but it's not meant to be for artist materials or an exchange, a reimbursement of any sort that you'll need to provide receipts for. It's really just an honorarium, I would say.
Nice, yeah. So as far as the curator role goes, they will be communicating with artists and also in turn communicating with Union Hall, confirming artist commitment and availability of artwork. Also, curators are responsible for writing a full curatorial statement, and we can offer guidance with that as well. And then also just gathering marketing information for Jess, and so that would be more of a collaboration with Jess, gathering contracts and invoices from artists. So all of those things, all of the paperwork, all of that stuff. And then collaboratively, curators are responsible for creating a layout, creating and managing a budget, and organizing the installation and the de-installation with us, in collaboration with us. Also organizing supplemental programming for your exhibition. And so those are all the things that, are a lot more collaborative. And then I think if you're interested in just really like reading through this and seeing this, if you're more of a visual person, all of this is in the FAQ on our website. And then we can get into looking at the prior exhibitions and talking about those. Did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's great. I'll just mention, I did see there's some questions coming up in the chat, and we'll get to those in a little bit, some of the more specific questions, but feel free to put any in there and we'll get to them in a few minutes. But yeah, I think we just wanted to go through some previous Rough Gems exhibitions. I know that these were before Esther's time, but just to go through them quickly. I mean, we don't have to go into specifics, but I think the main thing we want to talk about in this section is that we really encourage applicants to look at previous Rough Gems exhibitions. So if you have time, go on our website. On the Rough Gems navigation, there's a drop down and it's past Rough Gems exhibitions. And then you can go through all of these in a little more detail just to see what previous Rough Gems exhibitions have looks like. We know emerging is a really broad term if we're looking at emerging artists. So, I think that helps to get a little bit more of a sense of what the range of that can be, what the types of exhibitions that have been supported in the past have been, will probably help you a lot. So I don't know if you want to talk about like maybe this past year in a little more detail, Esther, just like briefly the exhibitions from 2023.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
So these are just some of the few that were before my time. and then this is 2023. So this first one on the left is called Sacrum or Sacrum, and it was curated by Jenny Nagashima. And this show was really about safety and the womb and recreating those feelings in daily life. And Jenny created a sort of living room environment for this. And the supplementary program was a community potluck to kind of talk about feelings of safety and home over food. And then the second one that you see here, this is was part of the Ultimate Boon that was curated by Florence Blackwell and Nadia Jackson. In this show, they really brought in like a really diverse group of artists who use their art to kind of navigate life-altering experiences, really heavy experiences too, to kind of reach their boon or reach a place of reach a really good place. So it was really about resilience of the human spirit. And then for their program, they brought in a youth music program that was coordinated also for performance. So there was youth performing in the space. And then the third exhibition on the right was by Sean Simmons, and this one is called Against Nature. And this particular exhibition was really about the intersection of queerness and ecology and sort of queering one's relationship to nature. It was very interdisciplinary, very experimental, and Sean did a film screening as his supplementary program. That was a documentary on queer ecology. So that was last year. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so I can take this one a little bit and go over the application requirements and materials and some of the changes if you have looked at applying previously, or if you have applied previously. You might notice that there are some slight changes this year in how we're approaching the application process. So yeah, I would say when you go on the application page on our website, there's a link to a document that has all of the application requirements and materials. There's a lot more information and context in that document. But basically one thing that we've added this year is that we have tried to, instead of having such a broad general statement of what we wanted out of a proposal, we tried to divide that into smaller questions with word count limits to try and keep it really standardized across the board, really fair for everybody, and also trying to get an idea of certain aspects of the proposal that we do consider in the review process, and we want to give you an opportunity to really be able to showcase that in your proposal and see what we are considering through our review. So the first requirement is a 300 to 400 word written exhibition summary that outlines the exhibition concept and goals. So it's basically a short exhibition statement. And we want to know, we outline it, but in a little more detail in that document, but we really want to know, what is this exhibition about? What is it going to look like? And what does it mean? So yeah, just really thinking through how you can tie all of the artists together in a really cohesive way, and what that message is going to be for you. It can be more aesthetically driven or more conceptually driven, but I think here's where I would really guide you to look at previous exhibitions and look at their exhibition statements, their curatorial statements that are available on our website. That will be a lot lengthier than what we will need in the proposal, and for selected proposals, we'll ask them to expand that later on. But I think it'll be a really helpful guidepost to see what those concepts can look like. And in our FAQ, we also talk a little bit about, I know if you're a first-time curator, you might have some questions about selecting artists. A lot of folks do it in a lot of different ways. You can either start with the artist and sort of form a concept from there, or some folks have a really exciting concept in mind, and then they find the artists that fit into that concept. So those are two of the main ways that curators approach it, but there's a lot of different options there, and you can do whatever feels comfortable for you. And then the second requirement is some supplemental programming ideas. We really like to see, along with some sort of exhibition or series, some supplemental programming interlaced with that. So we always have a curatorial talk in which the curator for the exhibition and the artist can all be involved and do a curatorial talk or a tour of some sort to tell folks about the exhibition, all of the artists involved, the artwork. And we also want to do one other supplemental program in that 3-week span. In the past, that has been a whole range of different things. It can be a concert of some sort. It can be a film screening. As Esther had discussed, some of the supplemental programs that were done in previous years. We got really creative in COVID. We did like a virtual show and tell. We did a coloring book that we put together. So really, the world is your oyster. Whatever is exciting to you, would be fun for you, and that you think you'd be able to, we want to see some sort of connection with the exhibition. It doesn't have to be like really, really distinct, but either working with one of the artists in the exhibition on it, or something that's related to the concept, just something that makes sense in the context of the show, and something that you're excited about and want to see happen in our space. Another one is a brief statement on how you're making an effort to integrate DEIA, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, integrating those values into the exhibition. And we tried to keep it pretty broad, and we gave some ideas of what that could be. It could be showcasing diverse group of artists in your show. It could be trying to be really considerate and talk about different accessibility needs and how you're thinking about that in the context of your exhibition. It could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. We just want to know what it means to you and how you're integrating that into your exhibition. The last ones, so we have curator bios. We just want a short bio from each of the curators in the exhibition. You can provide a link. It won't be considered in the word count limit. If you have a link to like a website or social media of some sort, same goes for the artists. We just want a short bio for each of them. Like I said, it can be anywhere from, we do want a group exhibition. So I would say anywhere from 2 artists to 6 artists. A big part of the show is for the curators to collaborate with the artists. So I think that's an important thing to mention briefly here. It's just, I think collaborating with artists, being able to put together a group show is important to us. So even though we don't have like a strict rule against a solo exhibition, we really will more highly value exhibitions that showcase more than one artist's work. Number 6 is, this is going to be one of the major changes that folks will see from previous years. Previously, we have required a budget. This year, we are not requiring a budget because we want to have it be pretty standardized and fair across the board and have a similar budget for each of the exhibitions. And because we're a small organization operating on a tight budget ourselves, we really just want in this section, instead of having a budget, we just want to know if there's any additional costs beyond the stipends, beyond the things that we're providing, the marketing, all of that, we can budget ourselves and take care of those costs. And we know how much they generally cost us and how much we can support. What we really want to know is there anything specific to your exhibition that you can think of that might be an additional cost? To give you a sense of what we generally provide, a lot of times it's in the 200 to 500 range is generally what we might provide for something like this, if it feels like a necessary cost. So that could be shipping costs. If you have some artists that aren't local to Denver. It could be art transportation if you have local artists and they have larger works that you need to bring over in a van. We will help, ideally take care of those costs. Specific installation needs. Are there different tech that you might need that you're not sure if we have access to? Is there, pedestals or some other type of display, a vitrine of some sort, something that you think would best display the artwork in your exhibition, that we might have to either borrow or purchase? Programming costs, is there extra materials? One year we did a creative workshop of some sort and we wanted to pay for those paints and materials to do this workshop. So yeah, anything really that's specific to the exhibition concept. Obviously, we understand that some things might come up down the line in the planning process, but we really just want you to be thinking about those things beforehand, and for us to be able to make sure that we're budgeting in and considering that beforehand. So trying to keep it pretty simple, but if you have any questions on that, please do reach out of what needs to be included and not included in there. And then range preferences. So we do want, we have the 3 time slots, January 18th through, don't remember all the dates off the top of my head, but they're on that application sheet and on our website. And we want here to know what your preferences are for time slots. We can't always go by those time slots. For example, if everybody chooses time slot number 3, we have to have some give and take in that, but we do try and if your exhibition is selected, we try and look at those range preferences when we're deciding where to slot everyone in. And then finally, for attachments, we do want some images. We would like no less than 5 and no more than 15 images of the artwork that could potentially be in the exhibition. We do understand that this could be an artwork that is available and then it's not available later on and you have to switch it up. But we just want to get a sense visually of what the exhibition is going to look like. And also CVs for any curators who are involved in the exhibition. One final thing that I think I'll just slot in here is that we have previously not been very stringent with this, but we did mention in the FAQ section, you might see there's a lot of information in there. I really do. If there's one thing you take away from this, I would say go to the frequently asked questions page, because there's a lot more information on the application process and the reviewal process, what we're considering. One thing that we do mention in there and that we've decided this year is that we are not encouraging proposals with new works created, just given the timeline that we have, which is a pretty tight timeline from when we select the proposals until the exhibitions are being created. It's easier on the curators and everybody involved, I think, to mainly stick to works that are already in existence and looking at works that artists already have available. So you can reach out to artists, see what they have available. And again, we know sometimes that might change a little bit, but that is one major thing that we've added this year. And we don't want, artists paying, we don't really have the budget for a lot of artist materials, and we don't want artists paying out of pocket to be creating new works for this exhibition. So that's sort of the thinking behind that. Do you have anything to add, Esther?
Yeah, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but I will say that it's a big commitment. I think it's a lot of work, and I do be mindful of your availability, because there are a lot of dates that you will be asked to participate in certain things. For example, orientation date, if you do get accepted into the program, is October 15th, and it's a full day of orientation. And we did schedule that on a Sunday so that most people can hopefully be able to make that, as far as it being scheduled in advance as well. And then we ask that curators come to their opening reception, of course. And we encourage them also to come to the other opening receptions for the other Rough Gems exhibitions. And then there's also a closing party, which is really fun. And that's going to be April 20th this year. And then besides, the openings and the party and the orientation, you will be asked to commit to an in-person meeting in December with me as a group. And then you'll be asked to commit to weekly virtual sessions with me, probably like 6 to 8 weeks before your exhibition even opens. So we'll be checking in every week on all of the things, going on and regarding your exhibition. Okay, let's see where we're at here. Okay, so what we are looking for in applications.
Yeah, I mean, I can start this one off, and then if I'm missing anything, feel free to fill in the blanks, Esther. So I guess relating to this, I will mention what our review process looks like. So applications are due on September 12th, like I said, at 11:59 p.m. We are hoping to be able to let folks know by early October. And we have moved to a juried system this year. So we will be bringing in some community members to review the applications as well, to really make sure that the process is objective, that we're getting more perspectives in there. And especially with more applications, we think it's really important to really build out that review process even further. And we want to be really transparent about what we're looking at when we are reviewing the applications. So these are the 4 main pillars of what we will be considering. The first one is aesthetic and conceptual appeal. So does the proposed artwork have aesthetic and conceptual appeal? Does it align with our vision and mission? Will it be a valued addition? Disclaimer here, we do understand that aesthetic and conceptual appeal can be really subjective and sounds not very clear to applicants from the outside. It is just a way for us to be able to think about how it will look visually in our space, think about the concept and the way you put together that first, the requirement in the application document, that exhibition summary. And that you put that together in a really thoughtful way, that you're thinking about all aspects of the exhibition and thinking about those questions that we outlined. What does the exhibition look like? What does it mean? So thinking through all of that, again, here, I would look back at previous exhibitions, look at their concept, their exhibition statement, look at visually all of the images that we have. We just want you to be thinking about how it looks and feels in the space and make sure it feels really cohesive. So just an example from previous years, from like 2023, thinking about Sacrum, a reason that proposal really stood out to us was because of this. It was this concept of this feeling of comfort in the womb, and everything in that proposal also backed that up, that it was all female and non-binary artists that were relating to that theme in different ways, that they were able to weave it in into those different artists, and that the space was sort of set up with the furniture in the middle, so it seemed like a living room. There were plants that were brought in to make it feel more homey and welcoming. So just making sure that you're thinking through everything and what you want that exhibition to look and feel like, and that comes across in the proposal. So that's just one thing I'll say on the aesthetic conceptual appeal, is look at previous exhibitions and what was done there in different ways. Definitely that's one example, but a lot of different exhibitions were able to accomplish that in different ways. And yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything else to add on that, Esther?
No, I think that was a good example.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, let us all know if you have any questions on that. And then I'll dive into the other major pillars of what we're looking for in applications. Like I said, the inclusivity and accessibility, really it's the DEIA. This presents in that DEI question that we have in that application, so that you're thinking through all of those things, that it aligns with Union Hall's DEI goals, and really wanting to make the arts and our gallery space feel more accessible and inclusive to folks. Supplementary programming. So that's that supplementary programming question. We sort of have these buckets that really align well with the questions that are in that application to give you a chance to be able to describe what you want to present in that 3-week slot. So supplementary programming, did you really think through those programs? Were they just thrown in, or is it something that really makes sense in the context of your exhibition? That is ideally something different than we've seen previously. It doesn't have to be, don't feel like you have to do something completely different than anything we've ever done, because we've done a lot of different types of events in our space. But yeah, something that's exciting to you and aligns with the exhibition. And then feasibility, this one is a really important one that I really want to highlight. We've had a lot of incredible exhibitions in the past that it was so hard to have to say no to, but they just were not feasible given the budget and the timeline that we had for that show. So just thinking through the timeline, we are accepting proposals early October, the orientation is mid-October. We really tried to bump that up to have as much planning time as possible, with the first exhibition being in January. But even still, that's a very quick turnaround for those. And then within those shows, it's 3-week show and then a week of turnover and then another 3-week show. So it's a pretty quick process, and we're a pretty small team. So we do have to take that into consideration of what we're actually able to do given those time limits, and also given the budget that we have. So, we have that budgetary consideration section. We can consider additional costs, but we want you to be mindful in those requests and just understanding that we are a small nonprofit organization with a small budget, and we do have some limited funds that we can give to each exhibition for items that seem really integral to the exhibition and to the show and to supporting the artists and the curator throughout that process, but just trying to keep those realistic and keep that in mind throughout.
Yeah, I think with feasibility too, if there's something that you have access to and you have access to it,
yeah,
definitely put that in the text as well. Let us know that the 100 mannequins that you're going to fill the space with, that you actually already have them, or that where you're getting them from and you have a partner you're working with or something like that. Just give us as much information as possible in terms of where you might be accessing materials that to us might seem like, oh, well, how's that going to pan out, or how does that come together? And it just give us that information so then we can see okay, this is feasible, or this is something that they have thought through.
Yeah, that's a great point. Absolutely.
Layout.
Cool. Well, yeah, I guess you can see right at the top, but we are not requiring a layout. I know in previous years, maybe there hasn't been as much clarity surrounding that. You're welcome to send a quick sketch if you think it's really important for us to be able to visualize the exhibition, but it's not required. It will not be considered in the reviewal process. But we are providing on our website, you can find a sample layout and what that looks like, and the specs for our space. We also really encourage applicants to come into our space if you haven't been in there previously, to see what it looks like, to see the nuances of our space. We can't provide private tours at this time, but if you come in during open gallery hours, then yeah, feel free to look around. And just to note here, our space is really flexible. So those 2 L-shaped walls are modular. So those can move throughout the space. There's a few exceptions to that, but for the most part, we can move them around. We have additional panel walls in the back that we can bring into the space. Our desk is on wheels and movable. One of our projectors is stationary and the other one is movable. So yeah, a lot of flexibility in our space. The walls are dark gray. They will always be dark gray. We do occasionally paint those L-shaped walls. Sometimes we'll be able to paint like one of those walls a different color, but most of the time we keep everything the dark gray in our space. So yeah, just something to consider while you're thinking about the exhibition, what that'll look like. And we definitely do encourage you to look at the layout, come into our space, see what's possible in there and how much artwork would make sense to have in an exhibition in there. Oh yeah, and I guess I'll mention in terms of the layout, so we are not requiring a layout or a budget this year, but those are items that selected curators will work with myself and Esther to put those together for the exhibition itself. So after the orientation, we'll set up some individual meetings. We'll be able to work together cohesively to make sure we have a layout that makes sense in our space. And for the budget, we'll work together on a budget and show you what that process looks like, but it'll be more of a collaborative process. The deadline, like I've said a few times, September 12th, 11:59 p.m. Trying to give you that extra weekend and that extra time to be able to get it in the evening if need be. But we have a little over a month to get that together. And yeah, all applications have to be submitted in PDF format. And we ask that you just have like your name in it, you know, Emma Steuer, Union Hall proposal. You send it to info@unionhalldenver.org. We will respond with confirmation that we received your application, just so you're aware. Please take another look at the email. It's unionhalldenver.org, which I know is yeah, a little different since we go by Union Hall a lot of the time. And yeah, and then if you haven't received confirmation within 48 hours, check back with us just in case it was, you know, sent to our spam or sent to the wrong email by mistake. We will notify applicants by early October. We are going to try our hardest to get it out as soon as possible, but if you don't hear back within the first few days of October, we just ask that you don't reach out about the status of your proposal. We'll be working hard to get you information as soon as possible. And I do recognize being on the other side of it is really challenging, but it will be our primary focus for end of September into October. So we'll get you that either acceptance or rejection by early October. And we are always available for follow-up conversations as well. There are more slides? Oh yeah. And then we do have one more info session. It's a happy hour on Wednesday, August 23rd. It's in our gallery space. Just a chance to be able to see our space, get to know the team. We're going to have at least one Rough Gems alumni who will be there. I think two from this year, to be able to talk about their experience with the program and how that was, so that you can ask a peer about, you know, their thoughts on the application process and the experience of Rough Gems. And yeah, it's a free info session in person. We'll have some refreshments there. It'll be a little more informal, but just another chance after having a few weeks to think about your proposal a little bit more, to be able to ask some questions and learn a little bit more and get to know our space. Cool. And that's where you can find all of the application details. Again, just the application page itself, which is when you're on that page, it says apply now. There's a few different spots that says that. It'll take you to a Word PDF document that will have a lot more information on those required questions and attachments and how to submit everything. And then we also have a frequently asked questions page where we tried to detail out a lot more information on applicant eligibility, the application process, the review process, what curatorial responsibilities are, and anything else that we could think of. Cool.
Yeah, so that's the end of the presentation. It looks like we have some questions.
Yeah, I think we can move to the Q&A section. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. But I know we have 2 on there that we can get to right now. I saw the question from Danny on having the painting on the floor with washable paint. Yeah, I mean, I think that I would have to know a little bit more information on that. I think if it definitely washes off of concrete, that could be feasible. The only things that I would keep in mind are the safety of the artwork, just wanting to make sure that the artist would be okay with having their work on the floor, and understanding that sometimes even with signage and stanchions, Jess is there during the day, during gallery hours, but just the risk that they would be taking by having it displayed that way. And then any options for how to keep it safe as well, including, if we would need to have stanchions around it or signage of some sort. And then also keeping in mind programming. So thinking about with us, I don't know how large the painting is. So that would be a consideration as well. But if it was positioned against a wall, or if it was a smaller painting, that could work. We try not to do too much additional programming during the Rough Gems months. Normally we have about one program a week almost. We do have regular meditation and movement classes in our space, some regular things that we do that we just need to make sure that there's at least a space within the gallery that we'd be able to do some of that programming. But there's certainly, that's something that we could discuss and figure out a place to have that work that would make sense.
Cool. And then Danny also asked, are there standards already in place for blind folks or people with low visibility, such as Braille, exhibition text, light, colored text on dark backgrounds? Or is it possible to create a recording of exhibition text for use in headset?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's, we don't already have a lot of that in place. We are an ADA accessible space. So there's wheelchair assisted accessible doors on all of the entrances to the building, and then also into our space. And we do try and be mindful of different accessibility needs. We don't have a lot of policies in place for blind folks and low visibility. But I think that would be a great thing to add in the DEIA question, if that's something that's important to you to add for the exhibition. And yeah, I mean, I think that making our space more accessible is something that's definitely on our minds all the time. And we're open to anything that makes exhibitions and art more widely available for more folks. Do you have anything to add on that, Esther?
Well, yeah, I guess I think if it really fits into the exhibition concept and it's something that you're excited about and you want to create that experience for people, that's amazing. Yeah, so I think we would be excited to see what you would want to do with that.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions? Feel free to put them in the chat box or raise your hand if there's anything else you want to know about. I guess in the meantime, maybe I'll talk about some of the eligibility FAQs that we received. So applicants do need to be over 18 in order to apply. We also have a note on there about previous applicants. So if you've applied previously, you're welcome to reapply if yours wasn't selected in the past. If you were a curator in the past, we just ask that you wait 3 years before reapplying. We've made that more of a hard and fast rule. And we also have a note on there about artist collectives. So it's a little bit vague, but I'm trying to remember the verbiage exactly. But basically, it says we don't generally accept applications from artist collectives, though there may be exceptions made depending on the circumstance and type of collective. Obviously, artist collective is such a broad term. So mainly what we mean to say is that We want two folks that are definitely the selected curators who will be working with directly. And then they will be communicating with all of the artists and working with them. So if it's an exhibition that's featuring some artwork by an artist collective, might be a little bit different than an artist collective of 6 different folks who are all applying together to collaboratively create the exhibition. Given our timeline, it's just a little bit challenging to work with 6 different people, which is why we limit the curators to 2 people. So that's a little bit of a side note on the eligibility. We also do accept applications with mediums outside of the visual arts. So you might find within our programming, we do have visual art exhibitions, but we also have a lot of different programming in our space and are open to any mediums that are outside of traditional mediums, and then also any performing arts that you want to integrate either into your supplementary programming or into the opening or into the exhibition itself. So however you want to take that, we are open to any type of application. All right, well, I guess we wrap this up pretty quickly. We'll just stay on for another minute or two. So yeah, put your questions in the chat box if you have any other questions. If not, we hope to see you at the happy hour coming up on the 23rd. We're excited to meet some of the applicants and be able to show you our space and talk a little bit more about what's feasible. That'll hopefully help you a little bit with like the feasibility element in terms of the types of artwork that might make sense in our space and what we're able to accommodate. And then, yeah, we have a lot of things that are a little bit different with our space. It's super angular. Like I said, everything's on wheels, so it is pretty flexible. But yeah, we have that happy hour coming up, and then the application is the deadline's a little over a month from now. We're also available at info@unionhalldenver.org if you have a specific question that you need answered that you couldn't think of right now, but comes to you later while you're putting your application together. Please feel free to reach out. We're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Emma, is it possible for you to tell people who the jurors are this year?
We might announce them at a later time. I'm not announcing them just yet. But yes, we will have some jurors. It will consist of Union Hall staff, several of our board members who have curatorial or artistic experience or are entrenched in the artist community, a lot of community members with curatorial expertise, and we will also have a former Rough Gems curator who will be a part of that process. We felt it was really important when creating a jury to be able to have somebody who'd been through the experience and had a really close understanding of that to be able to have their input as well. So we're really excited to have a jury this year, and yeah, we're not making announcements just yet. I want to wait until we fully fill out that jury, but hopefully we'll be able to share that at a later time and have it available online. The jurors will see the curators' names. We do have a policy that we've outlined for them that they will have to recuse themselves if they have a close relationship with one of the applicants. So for that reason, we do have to share names of folks just so they don't feel a conflict of interest if we know the art community in Denver can be kind of small. So we do have that policy in place. Thank you, and thank you for your questions. Yeah, I guess if anybody else thinks of any questions later on, definitely shoot us an email. Thanks for being a part of this. We really look forward to seeing all of your applications and are excited for our 5th cohort, our 5th year of Rough Gems, which is crazy. But it's such a fun program to put together, and we really appreciate everybody who is involved with it and wants to be involved. So thank you for your interest.
Yay.
All right. Bye, everyone. Hope you have a good evening.